Today, we brace for a storm both on and off of the boat. I get injured in the Anchorage, and when I was out foraging for dinner, I found myself being followed by one of the locals. So this is us, trying to be thoughtful cruisers, and after no less than 3 accidents down the side of the most treacherous Anchorage path we'd ever been down, it felt like a good idea so that we could more safely come and go from this incredibly secluded beach in an Anchorage called Silver Cove. This is an Anchorage we are about to battle test for the first time ever, and in gale force winds, after which we'll upload how we found it, not just on here, but onto the Anchorages guide at kadoa.com too. That morning, the plan was to set off on a 55 nautical mile trip west across Lyme Bay, ahead of the impending weather. With 15 to 20 knots of wind, we were moving swiftly through the bay. Heeled over in the warm summer sun made for a great afternoon of sailing, with hand steering very much the order of the day.
Just trying to find that point, that sweet spot, where you don't steer off the wind too much or steer into it, just maintain that 7+ knots.
We spotted what looked like a container ship unlike any we'd ever seen before. If you know what it is or you want to have a guess, then jump into the comments below and let's see if together we can figure this out. By the time we got across Lyme Bay and started looking for the Anchorage, the winds were already starting to pick up. But as we got closer to shore, we started to feel protection from some of the high ground covered in trees. Ideally, we would have liked to drop the anchor closer to shore, but we noticed an eelgrass protection yellow buoy which designated a no anchor zone, which we missed on our pilotage plans. Although not to worry, this still felt like a fine spot to be in. Shortly after arriving, we took Hank to shore, landing our dinghy on an incredibly secluded beach, although not one without some challenges, as I would soon find out.
So landing on this beach, nice and easy. We're going to take Hank for a little explore. We're going to have a little stroll, see what's going on around here. But if you didn't catch that, word of warning, it's pretty steep. If you have walking sticks, like the hiking sticks, I imagine they'll be good here.
Working your way up the incredibly steep path leads you into a beautiful woodland where we decided to turn left and follow the path. After 10 minutes or so, we found ourselves in a beautiful spot called Chertston Cove. With the breeze coming in from the southwest here, in this incredibly sheltered spot, you wouldn't even know there was a breath of wind right now. And seeing as the sun was still shining, we decided to make the most of it before the weather imminently turned foul and keep on walking into the bustling fishing town of Brixton, a quintessential English harbour town with colourful houses surrounding the harbour of what feels like an absolute seafood mecca. We like Brixton. It feels like a lively, rambunctious place full of character and no doubt a colourful history. Anyway, sightseeing isn't going to get us ready for this storm. Back on board Kadoa, we finished putting everything away we felt could get blown off. We decided to have 2 separate lines from the dinghy to Kadoa, both connecting to different points on both vessels. Next, it was time to take down our spray hood and bimini mounted solar panels, which are simply held on with these magnets. After removing and stowing these 2 semi-flexible 150-watt panels, it was time to lash down the rigid solar wings before finally folding up and unplugging the EcoFlow 400 deployable solar array.
There is nobody else at all in this Anchorage with us, so I'm going to put some more scope out. We've already got 4x out. I'm going to go for 6x, and again, I'm not too worried about swinging because there's nobody else here, so I need to pull this bridle in first and then put another 20 meters of chain out. And yeah, that wind's really picking up already. And now we've got all of our anchor chain out. We've got 60 meters out, and at high tide it's approximately 8 to 9 meters where we are. So I'm hoping that should be enough. The predicted winds are predicted to be up to sort of 38 knots, but you know how these things go. 38 knots could easily be 40, 45 knots. So I don't think it's unreasonable to be prepared for a gale tonight. And we've left the enclosure up. Now, a lot of people commented when we were in Storm Everett and said, look, you should have taken the enclosure down, and I agree. That was 70 knot winds. This is going to be high 30s, early 40s, and so I think the enclosure's fine. Yes, it gives us a little bit of extra windage, but there's not a soul out here. It's only us, and if the wind takes us anywhere, it's into that huge bay of Torbay. Like, there is just nothing for miles and miles. So I feel fine leaving it up. I don't mind the extra windage. There's no one to bang into. We are all alone. So we're going to set up some anchor watches tonight. We're going to get comfortable. I think it's going to be a couple of late ones. I don't think we'll sleep peacefully through this, but the only way either one of us is going to get any sleep if the other one is up keeping an eye on proceedings. And I stay up late anyway, so that's not too hard.
After preparing the boat, we decided to do the same in the Anchorage too by sending a climbing rope down the steepest section of the path down to the beach, which, after the rain had started, became even more treacherous than it already was.
And I weigh nearly 100 kilos, so it holds my weight. It should hold the weight of people less than 100 kilos. Cold, mate.
With all preparations finished, it was time to head back to Cadoa.
Let me get.
Oh yeah.
Good boy.
Let's brace ourselves.
Alright, the nightlight is on. The anchor watch has started. We've got the full 60 metres of chain out and we don't seem to have moved according to Navionics. Carly and Hank have gone to bed and I'm going to pull this shift. I can stay up. I'm a night owl anyway. I could easily stay up to 3 or 4 without even trying. So blast a cup of coffee, a couple more hours, it'll be no big deal. Carly and Hank can get a good night's sleep hopefully. Eyes closed. That's the one. 54 metres away apparently. We've got 60 metres of chain out, so that's surprising to me. We aren't the full 60 metres away, so maybe I haven't set the distance right, but according to the weather forecast, we've got about another hour and a half of high winds, and then it's set to slowly start tailing off. So I'm going to stay up at least until 2, but we haven't budged, so it's looking encouraging. As some of the stronger gusts hit, I went up into the cockpit to see if everything looked okay, but it was so dark, with few visible points of reference, that I couldn't make much out in any case. The howling has finally stopped, so the storm looks like it's passed over. We haven't budged an inch, which is great, although we've got some really crazy looking leak going on. The nav station's soaked. And the rain hadn't stopped at all. The rain was basically coming in sideways. So it's found some really bizarre way in here, but that's going to be a job for tomorrow. So I'm going to get some sleep, get up early, have a look and see how we've fared. I'm knackered. See you in the morning. Let's go and inspect the morning after. The dinghy's all present and accounted for. You're ready to go for a walk, aren't you, mate? 2 seconds. Let me just speak to the guys first. Right, let's have a little look outside, make sure we haven't lost anything. Still a little bit of wind, nothing major. Everything looks present and accounted for. Good, Hank. I'm glad you spotted that too. Well, I would say that went well. This is now a proven, tried and tested low-level gale anchorage. So if you've got winds coming in from sort of the south to southwesterly direction and they're coming in hard and all the marinas are full, you can't find anywhere to berth up, then this is a great little spot. For those of you that don't know, we've got a 25 kilogram Mantis anchor, one of the sort of modern design ones, and I think we're just dropped in the sand here. We didn't budge an inch. All of this information is going to go on cadoa.com on our Anchorages page, and then hopefully over the days, the weeks, the months, the years maybe, the more data we collect, the more higher resolution picture we'll all have, and we'll know where the places to bolt for safety are, where the places to go for awe-inspiring beauty are. That's our goal, that's the mission. If you haven't seen it, go check it out on cadoa.com and you give it a share. Give it a share, let somebody else know about it, because you don't just need a boat to enjoy these places. You can turn up in a car, you can do a coastal walk. All these places are for everyone to enjoy, but the context we're enjoying them is obviously sailing. With the worst of the weather passed over, I decided to head out to try and find some fresh food, and it would seem that I wasn't the only one. Despite the fact that I was being followed by a seal, I decided to jump into the water all the same in search for dinner. With such a bouldery seabed, this looked like the perfect hiding ground for our favourite seafood of all time, the Atlantic lobster. And after searching in every nook and crevice I came across, eventually I managed to find a good-sized lobster. Although finding them is only half the battle. Getting them out of their holes and hand-catching them, that's another story. Armed with my tickle stick, I like to gently tap the back of their tail. This often prompts a big move from them, without causing them any injury, because we don't know if this is one that we can actually keep yet, which is why I never drag a lobster out of its hole. Besides, they almost always have a back door, which they will often vacate from. And then, you likely only have one shot at this, so you'll want a confident grab on their body, but behind those vicious claws, and voila. After searching for dinner, we moved Condoa into this sheltered cove called Fishcombe Cove, and this was due to an incredibly rare visit from my parents, who never would be able to make it down to the beach at Silver Bay. I supplied the lobsters, Dad supplied some homegrown garlic from his allotment, and together we made culinary magic. It was a real bucket list moment to be able to cook freshly caught lobster for my parents. It may not sound like a big deal to many, but this is a moment I will cherish forever.